Hey guys, this is Paul Lynch. I'm an anesthesiologist from Scottsdale, Arizona, and many of you guys have followed me over the last year and a half. I started making videos again this summer after the Delta variant has hit us so hard. I wanted to give you a quick update today. I am literally going to go faster than normal. I'd like to keep this a little bit shorter so you guys can watch this maybe before work or after work. There's a lot going on right now with Delta, and I want to jump into it. I'm going to quickly review the data, and then I want to actually review this new paper that was published online by Mayo Clinic this week, which is kind of, rocking a lot of our worlds and our thoughts on what we think we know about coronavirus and the vaccines and Delta. I'm going to jump into the numbers. There were 101,000 cases reported yesterday. This is with Florida not reporting again. For those that don't know, Florida stopped reporting data daily, and the CDC is trying to kind of estimate how many cases are there, but the Florida numbers are just being released weekly, so we have no data out of Florida yesterday. So probably the real number is more like 120 or 130,000. Florida had been doing almost 30,000 cases a day. More concerning is we had 657 deaths in one day. Just to remind my viewers, we had bottomed out at about 200 deaths a day about a month ago, and that's now almost tripled to 657 in a day. And so the numbers just continue to go up. I'm going to put a link below to some of the data that I use to kind of track this, including Our World in Data and worldometers.info. On Our World in Data, you can see the 7-day rolling average, which is more than doubled on a 7-day average. That number just keeps going higher and higher. And this is for deaths. I've had a lot of people reach out to me to say, well, cases are going up, but deaths aren't. That's just not true. It's over doubling on a 7-day average and tripling on just like the raw numbers. And so deaths are going up. We're expecting that to go to about 1,000 deaths a day again, which is kind of a psychological barrier for some people. I think when they see 1,000 deaths a day, again, it's going to start to grab more attention. So I'll put some links below. I'm going to put a link below to the Johns Hopkins data, which continues to show the entire South is being decimated by this. I use positivity rate as one of the best indicators of prevalence of disease in society. And so if you look at like Georgia, there's 23% of their cases are positive. That means it's widespread. To remind people, we want that number less than 5% to show that we're kind of in control. South Carolina shows 15% positive. North Carolina, 14% positive. Tennessee, 21% positive. Mississippi, which is the least vaccinated place in the country, again reported 46% of their cases are positive yesterday. So it's quite scary. Oklahoma, where I have lots of friends and family, is 43% positive, and Kansas is 31%. So I'm going to put a link so you can see that. You have to understand, people, that if 40% of the tests that are done in an area come back positive, that means it's rapidly spreading. And this is occurring not in highly vaccinated areas, but in unvaccinated areas. On the same chart that I'm going to put a link to, you can look at New England, where we have some of the best vaccination numbers in the country, like Vermont. What do you think Vermont's positivity rate is? Well, Vermont is at 3%. So they've kind of had like this mini herd immunity that's going on in Vermont. And I think other states need to look at that with an open mind and think about the importance of vaccination and how many lives it's going to save. Vermont is doing well. They're open. And Mississippi and Louisiana and Georgia and these places that have really low vaccination rates, their hospitals are full. And not just with adults. More and more articles and cases are coming out where there are children in the ICU. And, I'm an anesthesiologist. I spent a lot of time in ICUs in my day, including when this first hit back in March of 2020. And, to see a child on a ventilator, a child who can't breathe, and particularly a preventable illness like this is just is a heartbreaking thing. So I really encourage you guys to share this video if someone needs to see this, and start to have difficult conversations with those you love on vaccination. I'm going to just quickly touch on the COVID-19.healthdata.org website, which is the IHME consortium. Once again, we have a really hard time predicting where this is going right now, and I'm going to get into this study in a second to explain that more. But if you look on this website, for the first time in a year and a half that I've been tracking this, the difference between what we think is going to happen and what could happen is massive. And so if you look at the United States and just cases, amazingly, it looks like we're probably peaking today. This is kind of a rule in epidemiology, which is the amount of time it takes to peak is about the amount of time that it takes to fall off. And so we started really kind of going up June 12th. And so it's peaking today around August 12th. So that's a 2-month rise. And we're probably going to have about a 2-month fall. So it'll be about a 4-month cycle, rise and fall. That's the same cycle we saw in India. It was a rapid rise over about 2 months and then fall. And some people are saying, you know, look what happened in India. Look what happened in the United Kingdom. It's fallen off quickly. That's not really true. It's about a 4-month cycle, which isn't too different than some of the cycles we've had in the past. So expecting that we're kind of peaking today in the United States and then about 2 months to come down. Keep in mind, if we peak on infections today, that means we'll peak on deaths, not today, but in 30 days. So I expect that the peak in deaths is going to occur around September 12th, and then you'll see that come down into November. However, we just don't completely know, and I said this before, it is possible it could be much, much worse, and that this peak that we think is happening now extends a little bit, and that the death rates extend a little bit, and it could be worse than even what we're saying now. I'm gonna put a link to the Arizona data as well. If the link doesn't work quite right at the top of the IHME website, you can just click and pick whatever country you want, whatever state you want, and kind of see predictive modeling of where we're going. But what's interesting about Arizona is we're not peaking today. I live here. We tend to be about a month behind everyone else. We're probably not going to peak for another month, like call it September 6th, maybe 3 weeks. And then we're going to start to come down, but our model starts to show that we come back up going into the winter, which is interesting. And we're going to see this throughout the country. I may get into this in future videos on how we go inside in the winter and why that leads to more cases. We also go inside during the summer, and that leads to more cases when we're inside near people. You know, it gives the virus lots of opportunity to spread. I want to review this paper, pretty incredible data coming out of Mayo Clinic. When I first graduated my fellowship, my first job was at Mayo Clinic, and what a wonderful organization. I enjoyed working there, the people there, their approach to medicine. This is a very well done study. It's not a randomized controlled placebo trial like the mRNA vaccines did last year. They did randomized controlled trials, about 75,000 people. They tracked them. The data was incredible. So when I sit up here and say these vaccines are safe and efficacious, there's lots of data to support that. This was not a randomized controlled trial, but it was a very large retrospective trial. They looked at 75,000 people, say 25,000 people that are unvaccinated. They had 25,000 people that got the Pfizer vaccine. They had 25,000 people that got the Moderna vaccine, and they tracked them throughout the year. It's a very well done study, and they've reported their data a couple times. As a matter of fact, early on, and you've heard me say this over and over, we have about a 90% reduction in getting the disease if you get this vaccine, and almost 100% protection against death. And that was the data from January to April. As a matter of fact, Moderna showed 93% reduction in your chance of getting the disease, and Pfizer showed 86% reduction. They averaged out around 90. That's a really good number and made a lot of us really comfortable. Well, this is a very hard study to read. I'm going to put a link below. They don't call it Pfizer and Moderna. They give these initials for them, lots of confidence intervals and data, and it's really a little bit difficult to read. I read this several times and just want to summarize for you that what happened is we had really, really good protection against disease for the first 5 or 6 months of the year, all the way up to June, and then it fell off a cliff in July, and this is quite concerning. They actually showed that the falling off a cliff was associated with the Delta variant becoming widespread. And so now in July, your protection against getting it was only 76%. It went from 90 to 76, or 93 to 76% with Moderna. So 76% protection against getting the disease. And it fell all the way to 42% protection with Pfizer, which is quite concerning to a lot of people. But before you get too worried, I just want to say the good news. The good news is it still was massively protective against hospitalizations, ICUs, and death. I shouldn't say massive for hospitalizations. It was 78% and 75%. That's still very, very good. You still have a 75 to 78% reduction in your chance of going to the hospital, but only one person died in the entire vaccinated cohort, which is about 50,000 people over 6 months. And so the protection against death is still 99.9%. So that's a lot of data. I'm gonna put a link below, and if you have questions, you can send it to me. But the summary is that vaccinations still work really, really well from keeping you from dying. This bug is becoming endemic. It's gonna live with us for a long time. And I think getting vaccinated each year is just gonna be part of our lifestyle as a protective measure to live. You may still get it. It doesn't mean the vaccines don't work. You may actually catch it. But if you're vaccinated, you're gonna live. And that's the most important thing. I just wanna encourage people to go get vaccinated. This is very efficacious to keep you from dying. It's also gonna protect those around you. Thank you guys for watching my video today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them below and I'll do my best to answer some. God bless you guys and stay safe.